My name is Ian Fawcett. I am the IT coordinator with the Diocese of Ogdensburg. And today I am going to go over internet safety for the families. The one place to start is kind of how we have our own policies here at the diocese, especially with children. So a few things we never do is we never list a child's name, and that should be a good rule of thumb for your children also. So when they create accounts or profiles, especially with like games and different things like that, like you really should just have them kind of make up their own usernames. They really should not include their name. Even their first or last name really shouldn't be included in there. Another thing we do here at the diocese is we try not to, in the pictures, have anything that where a predator could find like a location maybe in the background, so a specific landmark. You do need to be careful about maybe a shirt they're wearing. So, if it is maybe their local school, they're wearing a school shirt, that of course would really distinguish where they are located. So that's another thing we try to be very careful of, is when we're using pictures, again, not to use the name, not to use anything in there where a predator could distinguish where maybe the child is kind of located. So those are some good rules of thumb to try to go by. I'd like to go over some just basic internet safety rules, especially for children. So I am going to share my screen here, and this website here, it's a good website. It's called safekids.com. And these are written as if, of course, the child was saying it. So one thing you definitely would need to go over with your child, and even yourself, you really should never give out personal information, address, telephone number. Again, even your own information, you really shouldn't be giving out online. Anytime, and this is good to go over with your child, anytime they're on the internet or playing games, if something makes them feel uncomfortable, we really should go over with them how to just close out of that program, come over and see you and talk to you, and then of course from there, you really should kind of question, where were they? How did they get there? It could have just been an ad pop up. It might have been an okay website, but sometimes hackers get in and then ads can kind of pop up. So there's some things to kind of be careful with. Always go over with your children, never to meet online with someone physically, right? Never have like a meetup spot or anything like that. And another thing it's really good to go over with your children is that someone might be saying that they're maybe their age, but in the end, sometimes they are not, right? We know it could be someone else posing as like a 9-year-old. So that is definitely something to go over with your children, your online friends. You should never, going back to number one, you should never share your name, your address, your phone number, anything like that. This is a good one here. You should always make sure that if your child is posting their picture for a website, or again like a video game platform, that you are aware of it, that the parents are aware, so you can kind of make that decision. I know a lot of times, you can just use an icon, maybe your favorite sports team logo, right? You can do something like that instead of an actual picture of yourself, when a lot of the profiles do call for you to post a picture. Cyberbullying is probably a whole different topic, but that is something great to get in with your children. You would be able to, of course, research that online. But again, same thing. If they feel like people are being mean to them or rude to them, close out and they should have that comfort level where they can come tell you about that. Passwords, this is a big one. This is a big one. People get tricked into it. Hackers get better and better every day. So this is not just for children, it's for adults too. You need to be very careful. Very rarely will you get an email asking you to change your password. You know, a good rule of thumb, what a lot of people use is that, let's say your bank called and said, you know, we need your password, there's been a breach in your account, whatever. A good rule of thumb there is to hang up, or I mean, you can talk to them politely and just say to them, I'm going to hang up and I'm going to call the 1-800 number I have for my bank, right? So it's good to hang that call up, go online and get the 1-800 number off their website or on the back of your credit card and call the number, and then you know you're actually calling your bank directly, and you can talk to someone, hey, I just got a phone call, they said my account was being breached. So it's a good way to, at that point, find out whether that call was a hacker or not. You know, number 8 here, downloading and installing software. That gets tricky. It even gets tricky sometimes with adults because you don't mean to, and next thing you know, you've installed something and now you're getting tons of pop-ups and you have spyware on your computer and it could be a future virus sitting just waiting to happen. So you do need to be very careful here. I know myself, like when my kids have their own logins for the computer, I don't give them administrative rights. So they're a basic user, and at that point it makes it a lot harder to install software. You can always download it, but to actually install it, it does make it more difficult. So then at least at that point, you know when your child's coming up, hey, I downloaded this game, I really want to, you know, install it. You at that point can kind of do some research and see if this game is legit, because you'd have to log in as yourself to actually install it. You know, being a good online citizen, again, it's kind of a separate thing where you'd be able to Google that, research that online, but you know, good digital citizenship, that's just a good rule of thumb. Treat people, you know, it's a common saying, right? Treat people how you want to be treated, even online. You know, online is a little different because people don't have the fear of someone being right in front of you, confronting you over it. So people are a little vicious and a little more bullying online, and that's good to kind of go over with your children also. Another great site is kidshealth.org. So this is kind of another site where I saw some nice guidelines here that I'd like to kind of share with you here too. You know, following just your family rules, right? So maybe you have rules where when you're not home, children can't be online, or you restrict them to the amount of time they can be online. You know, some good tips here is the family computer, which I know is a little more difficult nowadays, right? With iPads and phones and laptops, right? Children are a lot easier to have these devices up in their rooms, but like the family computer should be like the family room where the monitor is facing out, where it's a little easier to always see different things like that. You know, different software does allow different screen time available to children. So maybe you only want your child online for an hour a day. You can set those things up on their iPad or their Windows laptop, their Chromebook. You do have the ability to set a lot of that up. And then depending on the router that you have, your router can limit that also. So you can limit different devices from your router to only be online from 7 p.m. to maybe 8:30 p.m. And that way you know when your children are going to be online and you ask them to be downstairs during that time. So again, you do have the ability to monitor, and that stuff gets a little techy, obviously, but you do have the ability to do things like that. So here again into the pictures and of course the personal information, phone, school name and location. I think I kind of went over that a little bit to start. Your screen name really should not include your name or any personal information. Never share your passwords. And it's a good rule of thumb too to teach your children how to create some secure passwords rather than maybe just their name and then their phone number or something like that, right? It's good to have some secure passwords with an uppercase, lowercase, a number, a special character. And usually passwords really shouldn't really mean anything except maybe to you. So sometimes, the good rule of thumb here is don't use any names or any words in the dictionary, right? So it should be kind of nonsense really when you're creating your password. Some of these things are kind of the same here. I'll just kind of skim through these, but just another site to kind of go to, this kidshealth.org. There's the spending time online. Yeah, here we go. Computer in a common area. That's just that's more of a tip there, but it's creating favorites and things like that, so your kids can kind of get on the sites that they like to access and get on quicker and easier. And again, what that kind of saves is that the child going online and searching for something and maybe they mistype, and then it brings up a website maybe you don't want them looking at. So I kind of see the point of that is having it all kind of spelled out there. Like these are the sites your children usually like. You can have those saved as favorites in the web browser that you use, all right there for them, so they kind of know exactly where to go. Probably not a bad thing too with kids at home right now with school. You can have all their schooling websites all lined up right there too for them to kind of get into. For parents, always keep an eye on your credit cards and bank accounts and things like that for unfamiliar charges. Be careful when you do put your credit card information, bank account information in online. Always look for that S up there, that HTTPS, and that lock symbol up here. That's always good to look at. And again, if you don't feel comfortable, don't put it in, right? Don't put it in. For the most part, shopping online is safe, right? Now, of course, things can get hacked, and we've heard those stories, but as long as you're on a site it's got the lock, it's got the HTTPS, you're confident on the page that you're on, it's usually a very safe thing to do is put your credit cards online. So protection, I haven't really gotten into that yet, but online protection is another really good way to go. You should always make sure you have virus protection. Chromebooks, Apple, and Windows actually kind of have built-in protection, but you can of course purchase a third party that would provide more protection. You can get web blocking, and it includes like web safe pages. So this is definitely, I'm not going to kind of recommend the product. They all are different, but it's definitely something to look into, is purchasing like a third party protection. Now some of them, this is I guess where I will go with that, some of them, if you pay a little extra, include category filtering, right? So by checking categories, it will automatically block certain pages, right? So if you don't want your kids gambling, you can check the gambling checkbox, and then all the gambling websites, for the most part, right, would be blocked. The only way through them would be to turn that off, and that would be password protected. So normally only you would have that password to be able to turn that off. So you do pay a little extra for that, and that is called web filtering. And the one you're looking for specifically is ones where you can block by categories. Some have web filtering, but it's by you putting in the websites one at a time, right? So you can do that, of course, but you'd never block everything, right? So you really would be looking for the category blocking of web filtering. So you check a box, and it automatically blocks most of the web pages that are associated with that. Here are some warning signs. Maybe a child can be targeted by a predator, right? So for internet safety here, these are some great things just to kind of look out for with your children. It does get into teens here, where of course you want to give your teens a little bit more freedom, but you do need to be careful again, and it's good to kind of go over and read through different things like this. And actually up here, there's specific categories for kids and for teens, and for educators. I think that's primarily everything with internet safety. It's just be cautious, be aware of your children, get some extra protection if you'd like to. Be safe. Know that things will, websites will come up that you don't want to come up. You might accidentally go to a website you didn't want to go to. Best rule of thumb there is to go up and click the X, close right out of it, right? Don't try to find your way out by clicking. Sometimes that just gets you deeper and deeper within the site. Sometimes even it's okay just to go over and hold in that power button for 30 seconds and just shut your machine down. Right? Shut down the computer, hold it in for 30 seconds, make sure it's off, let it go with the button, turn it back on again, and just kind of start over, right? So it's okay to do that when maybe something comes up that you don't want to. This is a good one too, especially in these times, like homeschooling tips during COVID. This is a good website here. I just typed that into website search engine. This one came up. This one's military1source.mil. URL is a little bit long. I won't read it all to you, but if you type that in, like, homeschooling tips during COVID, these are really good tips when you're home with your child and trying to kind of go through the day with them. Which can be difficult, when you're acting as the teacher at home, and you're at home and your children just want to kind of play and hang out with you. But it's always, a schedule's always nice, but have that flexibility built in. Absolutely, that's definitely huge. The whole purpose of this internet safety really was too that your children are going to be online more, right? They're going to be doing things from at home on a computer, researching different things. So you want to make sure you're prepared for that also, and you're there with your children as they're kind of doing things like that too. So this is a good website. Again, if you go online and kind of search, tips while my children are at home schooling during COVID, there's many articles that come up in great tips as far as that goes also. And then it lists here, there's some great things you can go to online with your children. It might not even be assigned by the teacher, but great things to do online. And more companies and businesses are going that route, again, especially in these times. And that is all I had for you today. Thank you very much. Be safe and good luck.